Hi, I'm Dr. Susan Pierce Thompson, and welcome to my weekly vlog. Today I want to address a question that came up in my Bright Lifers coaching call just a few days ago. So the Bright Lifers program is a continuity program that I offer after the Bright Line Eating Bootcamp ends for people who are sure that Bright Line Eating is their way of life and they want to stay close to the mothership and stick with it long term. So twice a month we have a coaching call together, and someone hopped on the call and raised their hand and said something like this. She said, "Susan, my emotions are out of control. I am crying, I am rageful, I am impatient with my kids, and is this normal, and what do I do about it?" And so I really thought that this question might apply to a lot of people who try Bright Line Eating, who give up sugar, give up flour, and start to eat according to the Bright Lines. No sugar, no flour, meals, quantities. And all of a sudden, food isn't available as a crutch and as something to stuff down the emotions of life. And that's exactly how she phrased it. She said, "I have stuffed down my feelings my whole life, and now I can't, and they're all coming up." And so I want to share a couple reasons that this happens. First of all, it is very true that we stuff down emotions with food and then they need to come up again. So I think that that's a very, it's a bit of an analogy, but it really is a good one. That's what's happening. So previously stuffed down emotions are absolutely clogging up our emotional pipe, and they very much need to come up again. So the emotions that you might be feeling now are emotions from a month ago, a year ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. I mean, who knows? Deaths that you never grieved because you were eating, divorces or relationships ending that you never grieved. All kinds of stuff could be coming up. Anger that you never felt, of being mistreated or being in a relationship that was unjust, and you let it go on and on and on, and you just ate over it. I mean, all that stuff is stuffed down there and it comes up. Another thing that's going on, though, and it's both, is that starting Bright Line Eating really taps willpower, because you're changing all kinds of habits at once. Habits about where you eat and with whom you eat and what you eat and how you choose the foods that you're going to eat, and all that changes all at once, and it takes a tremendous amount of focus and, at first, willpower. I mean, eventually Bright Line Eating completely takes the load off willpower because all of it becomes habitual, but at first you have to change those habits. This is why I recommend people don't start an exercise routine at the same time that they start Bright Line Eating, because you only have so much willpower and you need all of your willpower to establish these new habits. But when willpower is depleted, the one sign of it is that it feels like the volume is turned up on life, like irritations irk us more intensely, and frustrations frustrate us more, and cold water feels colder, and hot water feels hotter, and traffic is more, all of the things that would feel a certain way are amplified. And so that's happening too. There's a lot of genuine willpower depletion going on, which just leaves us without the natural abilities to regulate our emotions like we normally would, because emotional regulation is one of those willpower depleting activities. So when your willpower battery is drained, you don't have it in you to regulate your emotions the way you always have. This is why people snap at their spouse when they get home from a long day of work and they've just been sitting in traffic, because the willpower battery is depleted and you don't have it in you to regulate your emotional response as they come at you with the bill that they wonder if you paid or whatever. You're like, I just can't deal with this right now. So you're kind of going through life all the time like that, like just in a constant state of depletion when you're doing Bright Line Eating at the beginning, because it's so intense to change so many things at once. So that's a little bit about why it's happening. Is it normal? Yes, it's totally normal. It is so normal. Will it pass? Yes, it will pass. How long does it take to pass? It varies. Weeks, months, not years, if that helps. It depends on, how bad your food problem was, and so there's a lot of factors involved in terms of how long is it going to take for that to sort of lift. And how diligent are you in setting up the habits of bright line eating? Because the more diligent you are at it, the quicker those habits will automate, and the quicker the burden will be lifted off your willpower, and the quicker you'll start to feel like, hey, this is feeling kind of groovy. So in one research study, they asked people to start a new habitual behavior, and then they checked in with them to see how long it took for it to feel automatic. And the average was 66 days. So when they say it takes 21 days to make a habit, yeah, that's not true. It takes 66 days to make a habit on average. But the range was something like 17 to like 250 plus. So there's a huge range in how long it takes for something to feel automatic. And that's going to have a big impact on how quickly you have the mojo left to regulate your emotional responses. So, but even more to the point, what can I do about it? So if you're experiencing that your emotions are really at a fever pitch because you've started bright line eating, I want to suggest a few things that you can do. So first of all, give yourself the permission to be human. Like, cry, rage, cry. Try not to take it out on others so much, go by yourself and rage, but, let it out. Like, sob a little bit. And, you might have some built up sobs. Like, you might have come by those sobs really honestly. You might need to cry a bit. So first of all, give yourself the permission to feel those feelings and trust that it's finite. It's not going to keep going on forever. You'll get that stuff up and out, and then at some point you'll find yourself with a clear emotional channel. Another thing I would recommend is use your rational faculty to do a quick inventory and see if your actions are on track. Don't look at your feelings, because we have a tendency to judge how we're doing by how we're feeling. And often they're in line. Like, if we're doing well, we're feeling well. And if we're doing poorly, we're feeling poorly. But what you've got going on now is a disconnect. You're feeling poorly for some other reason, some past reason. So you can't use that as a gauge for how you're doing. So use your rational faculty to inventory your behavior and see if you're taking care of yourself. See if you're getting enough sleep. See if you are eating your bright line meals on time and the right meals and so forth, so you know you're properly nourished. See if you're getting enough social support. See if you're giving yourself a chance to rest and rejuvenate. And see if you're doing your bright line habits. Are you writing down your food the night before? Are you meditating in the morning? Are you doing the things you need to do to support yourself? And if you aren't doing those things, then make adjustments. But if you are doing those things, then sigh. A big sigh of relief, because you're doing better than you're feeling. And feelings are not facts. Feelings are fickle friends. Feelings are not facts. Your feelings are your feelings, but your actions are your life. I'm going to say that again. It's really important. Your feelings are your feelings, but your actions are your life. So you're feeling like a hot mess. Okay, but what are your actions saying? And that is something you can still have control over, even while you're sneaking off to the bathroom to cry for a little while, right? So here's where you know that you've started to come out the other side of this emotional hurricane. You know you come out the other side when something really tragic happens in your life and you cry about it. Right then. That is a beautiful moment, because what's happening right then is you're feeling the appropriate feeling at the appropriate time. And what you're doing right then is saving yourself years of therapy later on, because you're dealing with your emotions now, right now, not eating over them. You're not running to the freezer or to the pizzeria. You're sitting there crying because something tragic just happened. Or when something really unjust happens, like someone treats you in a way that's really unfair and you get really angry right then. And you express yourself maybe and say, I really feel like I've been mistreated here. This doesn't feel right to me. And right there, you're experiencing the appropriate feeling at the appropriate time. Another cause for celebration. So when you notice yourself feeling the appropriate feelings at the appropriate time and dealing with them appropriately, now you're starting to attain some emotional sobriety. And emotional sobriety is one of the best gifts of bright line eating. Like the ability to feel gratitude and joy and anger and sadness and love and compassion and empathy when the things happen in our lives that really rightfully should trigger those feelings. What a gift to have back the gift of real feeling in the moment, at the time, right? And so you didn't do that in the past, no harm, no foul. You did the best you could with what you had then. Now you've got a new set of tools. You've got bright line eating in your toolbox. Now you're going to go through a process of cleaning out that muck from then and feeling what you didn't feel then, letting it rock and roll right through you. And then at some point, it's going to spend itself and you're going to find yourself with a fresh emotional slate, feeling the feelings of what's going on in your life now. So I hope this weekly vlog was helpful. And if you have a question that you'd like me to address on the weekly vlog, just send an email to susan@brightlineeating.com. I'd be happy to answer your question. Have a great week, everybody.